Hi everyone, welcome to UTV Gooner and our show, The Shooting Lone Star with Ram from the Austin Gooners. Hi bro, how are you?
Doing great, man. Just, watching this United match going on live and yeah, it's been a less eventful week than last week. Shitty loss. But we move, right? But yeah, it's been a good week so far. Good to be back chatting with you and uh, you know, talking about the next match. Let's get into it.
Yeah, for sure, bro. So let's talk about our last game. Unfortunately, it was a defeat. It was a really difficult game. We knew they're going to be really up for it. New manager bounce effect they talk about. And we've had a real poor record there in recent times as well. So I remember speaking to you last week's show and saying that, it's not beaten them since 2017. So going into a game, was saying it was going to be a tricky game, but we're in such good form. And that was only our second defeat in the league this season. So it's one of them things, it happens, little blip. As you said, we move on to the next one. But what are your thoughts overall on the game?
That was the first match that we had, like, maybe outside of even like the Leeds match, although we won, but that just nobody had a good outing. You know what I mean? Like, it was just a bad overall. Like, we deserved to lose 1-0. You know what I mean? But there was really no positives to pull out of it. Like, I thought. I mean, I think maybe Saka was probably the one that had the best out of everybody. I mean, he had the clearest chances or whatnot. We missed a couple of good ones with Nketiah, but even the substitutions didn't work out as we hoped. Jorginho came in, and I didn't like a lot of like the online chatter already with people trying to dismiss Jorginho. I mean, he barely played like 30 minutes. The way it worked out, like, he came on and then 2 minutes later they scored. But Odegaard, the guy who scored the goal was, Odegaard was covering him, so it's just like a bad overall setup. And it was just one of those games, and I knew it was going to happen. Like, I just didn't anticipate this was going to be the match. But for some reason, man, Everton is still holding that dark cloud over us because it's been like that for a long time. Where every time we go into Everton, it's just a pitiful performance. But um, still top of the league. I think the fact that City ended up losing to Tottenham the next day kind of dampened the overall feeling about the Everton match a little bit, because when you look at the table, like, everything remained the same. Like, we drop points, they drop points, so everything is what it was the week before. So you kind of just move forward as a fan, especially, like, hey man, like, the players, I'm sure, are going to move on from it quickly. So as fans, we got to do the same thing. So um but credit to, like, Everton overall. Like, I mean, they played well, and like I mentioned at the beginning, just like, they played well enough to deserve to win. So it is what it is, man. These things happen in a long season, and you just move on from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. As you said, credit to Everton. They really did play well. The atmosphere was really intense there. The crowd were right behind their team, and it's difficult. In them circumstances, they had a really good game plan. We know their new manager, Sean Dyche, the way he likes to set up from his Burnley days. They were very direct. They were very physical with us. They got their goal. Can't always play your best, and we just move on to the next one, pick ourselves back up. As you said about the Man City result the next day, going into that one, I was like, if Tottenham could, do us a favour, at least get a draw. Maybe it won't be too bad if we only drop 1 point to City. They managed to get all 3 points. I saw the whole of that game, and I really wasn't impressed at all with the way Man City played. I don't know what's going on there. Saying it's not right with them. Really poor, not the kind of team we've seen in recent years. And the amount of chances they were giving up to Tottenham, they kept getting hit constantly in the break. And Tottenham really deserved to beat them in that game. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about how like that's and again, we're barely 20 games in or whatever, but like earlier in the season, as we were staying up top and anytime City would do something the day before, whether they would drop points or win to like close the gap a little bit, we would respond really well um, with a convincing performance. And it was crazy to just kind of see um, City kind of do the opposite. Like they must have gone into that match knowing like, all right, Arsenal dropped points very, very bad in a bad manner. Like it was a shitty loss. Um, and this is their opportunity to kind of close the gap a little bit, put a little bit of pressure leading up to the head to head match that we have. And they dropped the ball literally and figuratively, man. Like as you said, they don't look very impressive, and I know it's going to be a tough matchup when we do play them, and I'm not thinking that we're going to win 2-0, 3-0 or anything like that. Like I think it's going to be very close, but I feel more confident than ever that we have the slight edge. I mean, I know they beat us in the FA Cup, but we gotta have. I mean, if we can just respond to this Everton loss, and get ready and just get their mind right, ready for this City matchup. Not looking past Brentford at all; they're a good team, but um, I think it just breathed new life into the team. I think watching City respond to the art, because let's be real, it's between right now Arsenal and City, and City responded to the Arsenal loss by losing themselves. That's gotta at least, you hate to lose, but you would have to think that as players, they saw that and said, "Hey, man, it's almost like we got a mulligan, like in golf. Like, hey, we had a bad match, but the damage has been limited because of that result." So it puts a lot of pressure still. Like, I mean, again, all these games are just so much pressure. Like, we got to beat Brentford, got to bounce back because 4 or 5 days later, it's it's the big one. So yeah, just it was a great result to see. It was very and it wasn't even nerve wracking like as the game went on. Like City never threatened. Like they never, and a lot of times the way City does it is they just beat you down, kind of like we try to do, right? Like they just beat you down and get like very cheap, very simple goals, and you watch and you're like, oh damn it, like how do we give that up? And it's just because they're relentless, and they were not relentless this time around. If anything, Tottenham actually looked like a really good defensive team, and they held their own. And credit to them. I was rooting for a Tottenham win. I was rooting for a City loss. So like, still fuck Tottenham, but had to laugh at City too, man.
Yeah, bro, for sure. It was important for us to see City drop them points now. Nothing's changed after our loss. Still same scenario. We're 5 points ahead, game in hand. We've got a great chance. That's a massive week coming up for us. This weekend game and then next week's game against them. If we can beat Brentford, if they win their game on the weekend as well, we'd still be 5 points ahead of them with that game in hand. And if we were to beat them, it would go 8 points ahead of them with a game in hand, which would be such a great position to be. We're already in such a good place, but to be in that situation, there's a long way to go. That would be amazing. So on to the next one, though. Can't think too far ahead, as you said. Thinking about City, we've got to deal with Brentford, who we know have been a really good team this season. There's some great results. I was looking at the league table, we're up in seventh place, which I was really surprised to see. So credit to them. They turned over City at the Etihad, and I saw that game, and they really deserved to beat City in that one. They outplayed them, I thought, for most of that game. And they've looked really good, so they're going to be a dangerous team. We've got to be on our game. I'm sure we're going to see the response for this loss that we've had. We're going to come out and really give Brentford a hiding, hopefully. But what's your thoughts?
Um, yeah, I'm really nervous about it. I know we went to their pitch and dominated 3-0, but it's a much different team. We're a much different team, I think. Um, and yeah, they're playing really, really well right now. Their form is, I had it up and I didn't make note of it, but I mean they're having some really solid form. Right now, they've won 3 out of the past 5, with a loss to West Ham and a draw to Leeds, kind of sprinkled in there. But um, 2 of those wins were, they scored 3 goals. One of them against Liverpool. They've beaten City. They've beaten some big teams, and they got players that are they're not afraid of big matches. So they what happened to them? They barely got relegated this past or promoted last season. They look to be one of those comfortable teams that are kind of going to stick around for a while. So can't really take them lightly. It's going to be a very very I think difficult match. Um, and I'm really hoping that we can bounce back from a really tough and shitty loss and kind of bring it to them, because that's what we've done thus far. Anytime we've lost or had a bad performance, we've come back and looked amazing. So I'm kind of hoping we continue that trend a little bit. Because yeah, we're gonna need it, and it's a good thing that it's at home. So we're gonna have the home crowd, pushing us, and I want us to score early again, or come out early strong. I'm kind of thinking, and I want to see what you think about this. Like thinking, and this is all speculative, of course, right? I have no insight or anything, but I'm wondering if we might see a little bit of rotation in this game in terms of like, I'm thinking like Martinelli had a really rough game against Everton, and I'm kind of itching to see what Trossard can do is like in the starting role and just kind of see what he can contribute. Um, so I wouldn't be upset if like he started in place of Martinelli, and then consider bringing Martinelli off the bench just to kind of give him a rest, because he has looked a little bit sluggish as of late. Not to saying like he's bad or anything, but could use a rest. And then I'm not too sure about Thomas Partey, like if it was necessary, because everybody had like a bad game, so you can't really like single anybody out. But I'm wondering how much of that substitution for Jorginho was either like how was that the whole pie, like how much of it was because he was having a bad match and Arteta wanted to switch the tactics up a little bit, or is he still kind of suffering like some effects from that rib injury? Because I know even if they're bruised, like I've never had bruised ribs, but anybody who's talked about having bruised ribs or broken ribs say it takes a while to like fully recover. Not to say it's something to worry about, but I'm wondering if giving him a rest for this match with City in mind, like I wonder if that's like a thing that they might consider. Keeping in mind, like Jorginho when he came in, like he had barely been with the team for like 2 days, right? So he's still kind of learning everybody's name and learning everybody's like tendencies and all that kind of stuff, and learning the style that we're playing. But I'm wondering if a full week of being part of the team, can kind of put Arteta in a position to say, like, let me rest some players that are hurting or are maybe not as sharp as they have been in the previous games or what have you. So, like, that's my biggest thing is thinking going into this game. I'm wondering if we might see a couple players just switched out. Like, what do you think? Like, is that like a smart thing to do?
Yeah, with such a big game coming up, only a matter of few days after, I would really be looking into that as well. Obviously, we don't know the behind the scenes, what's going on in terms of injuries, players' match fitness, what levels they're at. I think the Partey, strange one, because I really don't think he would have bought him off that early unless it was an injury. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think it is that he's still feeling the effects of that rib injury as you're talking about, and he just as a precaution, he doesn't want to play him for like the full 90. And if that is the case, I would potentially, yeah, but I'd look to rest him for this one. Give Jorginho his chance. We're at home. We should have a lot of a ball. And I'm quite confident that we'll be able to deal with Brentford. So yeah, if that is the case of Partey, just like I said, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, the injury
Mm-hmm.
situation, the match fitness of players, where they're at. But anyone that when they do their test that they do that is like borderline and could do the rest, I'll look to give him a rest. Like I say, Martinelli might be another one. A good opportunity to give Trossard a start. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I would look into that, but it all depends on what's the actual situation. Because if behind the scenes everything's all good and everyone's fitness levels are good and they feel that they can get through the game against Brentford and still, have that right level of fitness for the Man City game, you would look to go full strength because it's such an important game against Brentford that
Yep.
you really cannot be dropping points. So it's going to affect us going into that City game. Then, if we were to drop points again, it'll be two games in a row. City have got Aston Villa at home. There's no guarantees they're going to win, but I know we know what the Premier League's like. We're just seeing now Leeds were without a manager gone 2-0 up at Old Trafford. But I know it's come back to
Yeah.
2-2, but the Premier League's just one of the leagues you can't take any team lightly at all. So,
Yep.
and after that, like I say, the defeat we've just had, we'll be looking probably to go full strength and make sure we get these points against Brentford. It's a tricky one, it's a hard that's a decision, but it requires obviously a lot of thought. But and that's what Arteta's got his coaching team for, all the analysts that look into the players' fitness levels, where they're at, who can do the rest, who's on like that borderline, and yeah, I'm sure they'll look into it and then make the right call. What's your quick score prediction?
Ooh, like I feel, I think if we handled Everton, I think it was going to be a big boost, and I thought, and we would just kind of roll over Brentford. Now I'm not so sure. Um, I kind of predicted a close win against Brentford anyway, or against Everton anyway, and I'm gonna go again that route. I think it's going to be a little bit tighter than anticipated, and I'm gonna go 2-1. Just like we beat them last year, 2-1. I think it's going to be a little close. I think Brentford are going to come, and they're in a much better position than they were when we played them in September. Uh, so yeah, it's going to be a little bit nerve wracking again, but I think we we go up 2-0, and then they get one back a little bit later. But even the 2-0 is going to be a little bit hard to come by. So yeah, I'll say 2-1 in favor of the Arsenal. What do you think?
I'm gonna go for 2-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully we're gonna have a really dominant performance, shut them out. They've got a lot of attacking threats, as we know, but yeah, hopefully we can keep a clean sheet, get a couple of goals, and get that confidence going into the game against City. Sure, the players will still be very confident. Yeah, it's just that one loss. When you look at it, it's one game, it's only the
Yeah.
second season, so I don't think they need it for a confidence boost, but it's just more so because of the game we got after that. We want to make sure that we're not going into that on the back of two not so good results and on the back of dropping points. Psychologically, if we can go into that game against City, still 5 points ahead of them with a game in hand, that's going to be massive. So I see the players being really focused on it. Arteta's going to G that. We're at home, been amazing here this season at home. Only dropped 2 points all year. I see us, yeah, not comfortable, as you say. Brentford will give us a hard game. They will fight, but I think we'll have too much for them and seal the game 2-0.
I will say this. I will say this. I know, um, Arteta's comments after the game about like, showing love to the players and backing them. Like I thought that was great. And I think Saliba came out in an interview and said, they asked him kind of straightforward, like, what did Arteta tell you guys? And Saliba basically was like, he told us we didn't have, we lost because we didn't have desire, like we didn't show up, right? We didn't want it enough. And I thought that's also a good message to send to them as well. And so I feel like, yeah, the players got the message, and they have to remember. I mean, they're going to have to draw and remember what it felt like to lose multiple games in the Premier League and how much that can really hurt your chances for achieving your goals. And so the stakes are higher this year. I still think ultimately, like right now, again in my brain, I'm fighting between wanting Champions League to be secured first and then start thinking about the title. But you got to go with what's in front of you. And right now, Arsenal's top of the league. Got to just push for the title, right? And so, I think he's gotten the message right off to the players just based off what Saliba said. So yeah, man, I'm just really excited. I just want to kind of get the game going. It sucks when you don't have games like you got a whole week to dwell on it, man, because it's just like I just want to watch the boys play and bounce back. And um, I'm also glad that the game's not at 6:30 in the morning. We're looking at a 9 a.m. kickoff, so I'll be able to not have to rush to get to the pub that early.
Yeah, it was really nice to hear Arteta's comments. The way he dropped it was really cool. Like, these are the times where when you lose, you need to be with them. They've been amazing. They deserve it. They've been so great. It's easy to be with someone, and that's like in all aspects of life. It's easy to be with someone when things are going great. But that saying they have in life in general, they talk about you find that your true friends when times are hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like he seems such a cool manager. He seems like a great manager. We've seen all the stuff he's done on the Amazon documentary. Yeah, great guy, great manager. We're truly lucky to have him, and I'm sure he's going to be really up for this Brentford game. But talk about desire, and you could see how much the Everton players, new manager. We talked about the crowd, the bounce effect of the new manager. They really
Yeah,
extra desire in them. And unfortunately, on the day, we were not able to match that. But in general, our desire has been outstanding this season in all the games. We've really fought well. And I think Brentford are in for a hard time because we're going to be fighting hard in this game. I mean, straight after that, City going to be on them as well. Really looking forward to the next games coming up. So before we go, just going to do as we do the key fixtures from the weekend, some predictions from yourself. So let's start with West Ham versus Chelsea.
shit, man. I'm not very impressed with Chelsea, and um, but West Ham are having a really, really tough season. They're fighting relegation, and I'm kind of hoping that they get relegated so that we can maybe get Declan Rice for cheap, relatively cheap, I'll say. And Chelsea, they brought on Mudryk. I watched that game with great interest because they took basically two of our guys, um, or two guys that we were going after. Uh, looks like João Felix is going to be at least eligible to come back. Don't know if he starts. Maybe he does. Mudryk didn't look very good. But again, I think he's kind of figuring out how physical the Premier League is. West Ham at home is going to be difficult, I think. And I'm looking at a draw. I think we might see like a 2-2 draw with West Ham stealing a point at the end. Just I don't think Chelsea's not turned up like I thought they would just with all those signings. I think Graham Potter is going to lose his grip on the team. So I'm rooting for more Chelsea fail as time goes on. 21 games they've played and they've only got 30 points. So they're going to have 31 at the end of 22 games. So we'll say 1-1 draw.
Okay, and then Bournemouth against Newcastle.
Ooh, Bournemouth is another one. I think they're what, bottom of the league? Yeah, they're 19th. Someone's below them. Southampton. Um, I don't see very much fight coming from Bournemouth, even though they are at home. I'll say like 2-0 Newcastle. Newcastle is starting to scare me, man. They turn up, although they did draw 0-0 this past match. So actually, I'll revise it and say 1-0. Newcastle does struggle scoring goals, so but I don't think Bournemouth is going to take any points off of them.
Okay, Leicester versus Tottenham.
Shit, Leicester's crawled out of the relegation fight. Tottenham, fuck those guys. Let me see real quick. Who's got all the injuries? Oh, they got Christian Romero out because he's suspended because of that red card. I hate that guy, by the way. Um, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say Leicester. Leicester gets revenge because I think they lost. That's the last time they played each other. It was 6-2. Tottenham had that really like you really got to be a very unimpressive team to win 6-2 and still not look that good. So I think Leicester City gets the best of them. I say they win 2-1.
Okay, I mean, bit of a strange one in terms of the fixtures because the way it is turned out that Leeds and Man United are going to play again on Sunday. Having played just tonight, about one just finished full time whistle,
Draw,
just
yep.
2-2 draw there. But this time, yeah, it's going to be at Leeds' home. What's your thoughts on that one?
Oh yeah, Ellen Road. They have a no manager bounce apparently. I don't know who's taking control of them. They're gonna have a caretaker, I guess, for the time being. Leeds plays very good at home. I don't know specifically what their record is. They may not have the best results or whatever, but they're difficult at home. Um, and I thought they just kind of blew it today. They should have won that match. So I feel like these players are going to want to get that one back. So I'm going to say 3-2 Leeds United. Another wild back and forth match. But yeah, Leeds United should feel like they fucked up today, and United. I just want United out of the title race, so I want them to drop as many points as possible. Today's a good result for us. I'll take the draw. I'll take the draw. Um, but I think they drop all 3 points to Leeds on Sunday.
Okay, and Manchester City have got Aston Villa.
Aston Villa. Um, Aston Villa is now 11th on the table. They've got Unai Emery on their squad, or managing their squad. They recently lost 4-2, but before that, they've been getting some pretty decent results. So I don't know, man. I kind of want it to be a difficult slugfest. I don't consider like any game at the Etihad to be like, oh, it's going to be tough on the opponent because every time I watch, man, it's just very, very silent. I want it to be a slugfest. Um, I do think City will bounce back and maybe get the win. I'm talking maybe like a 3-1, setting up a massive match on Wednesday. But I'm hoping they got to work really hard to get those 3 goals to one. Just because Villa is a very physical team and they're playing much better under Unai Emery. So we'll say 3-1.
Okay, and then to finish with Liverpool versus Everton.
Um, fuck. That's what do they call it? The Merseyside derby. Oh man. Last time it was what, a 0-0 draw, I think. Both teams looking absolutely pitiful. Um, Gosh, I think Everton beats. I'm gonna root for Everton to win and beat Liverpool because just like Chelsea, I want to see Chelsea. I want to see Chelsea and Liverpool just continue to be stuck right there in the middle of the table. Liverpool looks absolutely horrible, man. It was really surprising to see them lose 3-0 to Wolves. And I think I even predicted that, yeah, I was just like, the Wolves can't score goals. And they're not a goal scoring team. That's like been their biggest issue. And they put up three against Liverpool. Liverpool in trouble, man. I'm going to say another 1-0 victory in favor of Everton. It's going to be rough for Liverpool, man.
Okay, yeah, we really are struggling. So yeah, many great features coming up this weekend. Looking forward to another great weekend of Premier League action. Before we go, just quick shout out to LeBron James. Amazing
LeBron
record
James.
last night. All-time leading scorer in the NBA. I woke up super early at 3 a.m. to watch that 'cause I wanted to see it live. And yeah, respect. Amazing. Great player, and he's got the record now.
Respect to LeBron James, man. I remember seeing his very first game against the Sacramento Kings. I don't even remember who won or lost. I just remember like how cool it was to see this hyped guy, LeBron James from Ohio, um, come out and like live up to it on from the very first game, man. Um, and even to see his amazing run with the Miami Heat and the Cavaliers, and then now the Lakers, taking three different teams to the finals and winning rings with three different teams. It was also good to see my San Antonio Spurs go 2-1 against them in the finals overall. Yeah, I love that guy. He's my favorite basketball player probably ever. Like, I mean, you can always go back and forth and talk about MJ, LeBron. back and forth, this and this. I saw the tail end of Michael Jordan's career, and it was really cool to see. Like, he's a GOAT, he's amazing. But for me, like, LeBron James is my guy. I've seen him from the beginning, grown up watching him play, and like that was cool to see. Like, I definitely tuned in and watched until he broke the record, and then when I saw the Lakers were about to blow it, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch this anymore. I watched the Lakers, but I watched him for LeBron, and it was cool to see him break the record, man. Historic.
Yeah, for sure. Really was. Congratulations to him. So yeah, that's all from us. Thanks, bro.
My pleasure, man. I look forward to talking to you Saturday morning, and hopefully, we'll have some good shit to talk about. A battering of the bees. Let's go.
Let's hope so, bro. Yes. Come on, Arsenal.
Let's
Gonna
go.
bounce back against Brentford. I mean, yeah, on to City. Looking forward to speaking to you next week, previewing that game against City. Massive game coming up, but yeah, one step at a time. Brentford first. So yeah, that's all from us. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share.